Hello and welcome to the Sideline Live podcast. My name is Orla Keeling and I am the host of the podcast, where every week we bring you a brand new episode with guests ranging from Olympic champions to local heroes, coaches, support staff and anybody involved in the world of sport. Each week we will dive into different topics, including current affairs in sport, identity, skill, mindset, coaching, and also shine a light on those flying under the radar. So tune in every brand new episodes, new stories and new insights you've never heard before. Okay, delighted to be joined by Diarmuid O'Connor at the second most impromptu interview I've ever done. Diarmuid, thanks for joining me here in Stores in Connecticut.
No, I'm delighted that you've come on a nice cold Sunday evening. It's probably a bit of a change from Texas, but yeah, we're sitting here in Gampbell, our basketball facility. It's pretty nice in here though. Everything's looking pretty flashy. But it's glad to be here.
This is very cool. This is probably one of the coolest campuses I've been on in terms of facilities and stuff. How have you found it though since coming here? Talk us through a little bit of your journey. Conscious that there's probably listeners here that don't know who you are.
Yeah, so I'm a track and field athlete, a decathlete, and I came to UCONN 3 years ago. So this will be my third and final season here. I came here as a grad student, did my undergrad back in Cork at UCC. I spent a small bit of time in Texas at Texas Tech before I returned home and then went back into the portal and came back here to UCONN. So this is actually my 6th year of college. So I'm pretty old for an NCAA athlete, but it's been good. I'm delighted to still be in the NCAA, kind of having these opportunities.
I was watching the BYU men's basketball last night. They're playing UConn men's in TD Garden in Boston. Yeah. And the commentator was saying, this guy is 25, married, as an undergrad and still playing college basketball. I was like, what is the world? Like, it's just, everything has changed.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
When did the dream, or maybe not dream, but when did America come into your decision making with athletics?
It was definitely from a young age. Like, it was always on my mind. It's a huge stepping stone to professional track and field, and it's very similar to basketball in that sense, where if you're not getting these professional contracts out of being a youth athlete, if you're not the best of the best, it's a huge opportunity. So coming out of secondary school, I was always keeping an eye out of that stuff, and I was with different agencies looking into what opportunities I can get. But at the time it was also COVID era when I came out of secondary school, 2020. So I first went to UCC. Always kept an eye out on opportunities, and I had a pretty good youth score in decathlon. I think I was under 20. I was ranked 5th in the world, and that kind of opened up a lot of more opportunities in the US, and that's when I really saw it being an opportunity where I had a real open choice of different schools where this is up to me now, where I can take this somewhere that might lead to a professional career down the line. So definitely always on my mind, but I think from under 20 it was almost like bridging the gap at that point.
Became more realistic. There's an actual chance to come. I'm conscious I have a lot of listeners that aren't very kind of aware of multi-sport. Even mentioned the score. Just give us an insight into even the scoring system and just the events that you actually do within your multi-event. Yeah,
absolutely. So a lot of people know Kate O'Connor from all the success this year, and she's definitely a massive role model of mine. So for women, it's over 2 days, and for women it's 7 events. So it's heptathlon. On the first day, well, I'll just rack through all the events.
Go for it,
They got long jump, high jump. They have 200 meters. They have shot put, javelin, 800 meters, and I already mentioned 200 meters. Maybe I'm forgetting
so
something.
Many, just forget it.
Sometimes that happens. Even
That's
for
fair.
Me.
There's enough of them.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely enough of them. There's enough to be bad at. And then for the men, we have the 10, and that's decathlon. So we have 100 meters, long jump, shot put, high jump, 400 meters on the first day. And then on day 2 we have hurdle, discus, pole vault, javelin, and 1500 meters. So a lot of contradictory events to each other. So it's a lot of fun.
Whenever I think of multi-events, the term jack of all trades comes to mind.
Yeah, the master of none.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not that now. No, I purposely left that out because that's not true. You have to be so good, and like you have to be very good at. You probably have your one event that you're very good at, and you have to be like, I don't want to say above average, but you have to be good at a multiple of other things. How do you actually fall into a multi-event?
From me, it was definitely just a youth thing the whole way through. My mom was very enthusiastic about doing everything, and almost when you go to an athletics event, you got to make the most of being there on that day. So she'll throw you into every event, and that definitely builds character, because you could be thrown into like an 800 meter at the end of the day and you're dying because I'm definitely not. You're not built for that as a kid. But then slowly over time, there's always those opportunities on the multi-event days where it was just based on the combined event scoring tables. And when those days came around, I used to love those days because I was somewhere in the middle of everything. So it really suited me. And I played soccer growing up. I played GA growing up, like all the way up until 16 or 17. I played rugby.
No basketball, you're pretty tall.
I played basketball in secondary school. I actually played with Sean McCarthy and Closh to Cullum, and I wasn't bad at basketball. I wish I did more, because from playing a bit of Gaelic football as well, there's a bit of crossover. But yeah, I definitely should have played a bit more basketball. It's a great sport, and I was playing a little bit last week in just our gym over there, because even training basketball can sometimes have some crossover effects for jumping and different events. So it's fun. It's great, and it's great.
Change it up.
Absolutely great for your brain as well. Just anything that's play, I think, is always so good in training. Just some stuff that like stimulates your brain in training is unbelievable. So mixing it up is great. But yeah. I had a great coach then, and my coach is from the Netherlands growing up, Frank Stam, and that was definitely the gateway to like high performance multi events. I had never really known what was like high performance sports before going with him, where we were on like training 6 days a week in the weight room, doing all the technical events just on a proper program all year round. And that's when like new goals come up. Like I went to the Youth Olympics for under 18s, and I went to the European under 20 championships. So it kind of just built and built. And I was lucky to have a coach there who was as interested as I was.
What I love about what you're saying, as we sit courtside here talking a little bit about playing basketball, just for anyone, we are courtside at the court for the UCONN Huskies, but when you mentioned all of the sports you played growing up, how important was that to have? Like you're obviously, being multi-sport obviously will help, but for parents and for kids listening that are, we see a lot about, specialisation, but not to do it. And, the research coming in about late specialisation, but, a lot of parents or coaches are talking about early specialisation. You've named so many sports there. Like, how important was that? And even I love you're talking about it's fun, it's different. I read a book where they were talking about we play sport. It's not, we don't work at it. Even in professional level, you play it. You still don't. It is your job, but you're not working.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's huge. I definitely anti like youth specialization in sports. To me it doesn't make sense, because you can get into all that stuff when you're older and the fine nitty gritty stuff, but developing an athlete, it comes through play, and it comes through doing things based off what your body naturally wants to do. So if you can just play a massive spectrum of sports, how that develops you as an athlete for later in life, what that does for your physiology, for your bones, for your ligaments, your tendons, it's massive. Like the research behind just playing as many different sports as possible is huge, because I think athleticism and like the top people in every sport, it is so ingrained in their psyche, and they're so relaxed when they play. Often the best players are the people who know how to be relaxed while playing, as intense as possible, and that comes with just enjoying the sport as well. So yeah, I think I miss playing other sports, and I can even now I think if I played like a month of another sport in my off season, I could see it being of benefit to me.
100%, I couldn't agree more. But even for you, like as a multi-sport event, because there's so many different things, like 10 things is a bit mad now. It's a bit much probably, but it keeps things fresh.
Yeah.
That you're not just doing like, I was reading talked before we recorded David Gillick's book. Jesus Christ, I would have been so bored just doing the same. Like he was doing different sets of running, but just if you're running all the time.
Oh, I couldn't do that either. I'd find that very difficult. A single event in track and field is definitely a certain mindset. Whereas, there's a bit more, I would relate multi-events is more similar to basketball or other team sports, where there's so much variety in the skills you need to have, as well as energy systems. Like basketball players have such speed, they have also such aerobic capacity as well. So that's the same with us. We run 1500 meters, we run 400 meters, and we run the 100, 3 different energy systems completely. So I love that about decathlon, and I think that's why I am so passionate about it, and why I want to try and go as far as I can with the sport.
What's it like though, when we're talking about playing and working, you're pursuing sport, you're now in college, but you're pursuing it abroad and looking to go professional. When it becomes, your goal and you're going all in, meanwhile you're going in and all in on 10 events, but, talk about it becoming a bit more of a job, and still enjoying it and finding the passion for it.
Yeah, that's a really good question, a really complex question as well, because when you want to break through to that next level, which has been a thing for me my whole life, I've always wanted to break through pro, and I haven't really been able to get to that level yet. Yeah, I can enjoy the sport, but I need to figure out what is it that I need. What are my shortcomings? What are my weaknesses that are stopping me from being like a elite level athlete who goes to European championships, world championships, and hopefully an Olympics one day. So you can come to the US and you're going to be put on the right track, where you're going to get all the facilities, you're going to get all the gear you want, you're going to get free travel, you're going to get everything, coaching, you're going to get rehab, you're going to get all these stuff, but still that doesn't guarantee that you're going to make it. So coming to the US for any athlete, I think you need to be very mature, and you need to know yourself, because you can often be put into a system and that system mightn't work for you. So just following along blindly and not doing the research yourself means you're probably not going to progress, because you'll just go into the same system year after year. For me, I have a huge interest in strength and conditioning and all sorts of performance, and I really want to figure out new ways that I can improve my weaknesses. So I try to do as much research in my own time, and then bring that up to my coaches and do stuff differently to my teammates. Like we've 5 multi-event, like 5 decathletes I train with, but I think I'm quite different to the other guys, just because I'm picky, and also a bit of I can
hard to manage.
Yeah, definitely.
No, definitely not.
I'm definitely, I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm a bit,
you're particular.
Yeah, that's correct.
But you're also curious.
Curious, and particular, skeptical as
well.
well.
Okay, I was going to say passionate, but I was saying go skeptical. Yeah.
Like all of those words are a good way to describe it, and I think they're good traits in an athlete. But you also need to, on the day, then you need to have that switch off button where you can just go out and really just relax into competing.
How do you switch off then and relax?
I have a sports psychologist I talk to a lot, Olivia Scully. She's with Athletics Ireland, and I've known her now for many years, since the under 20 level, and she's really, really helped me in just building that confidence that didn't probably come naturally to me in the first place, because I'm a bit of an overthinker. And in track and field, it can be a high pressure event when it's just all on you. So that definitely helped, just working with a sports psychologist. And then I think just experience as well. Experiences in a sense where you can go out and you can run a race a million different ways and you learn every time what you did. Like if you're too tense going into a race, or if you've too much adrenaline, and if you try too hard most of the time, it doesn't work out. So sometimes just having that attitude of enjoying it and realizing how lucky you are to be in the position, that can really center you on the actual day, because like you can do all the thinking this time of the year, but on the actual day that's not going to help you if you're thinking what direction your right toe is going or all the little like technical cues you got. On the actual day, your brain really needs to switch off and just believe in yourself.
I love that piece around, I've heard that so many times, when you try force it, you get further and further away from the zone you actually need to be in. What work have you done? Like David Gillick, I was saying in his book, I should get royalties now, I'm telling everyone to go. He was talking about like pre-race, he would have picture there was a feather in the tip of his nose just to try focus himself in. I thought that was really interesting. Is there anything you do day of competition, night before, to try ease your mind and think about anything but the event?
I definitely have a very typical like relaxing routine before everything. Like obviously there's the classics of just music and the same food stuff, same warm up every time, and then in decathlon, like you'll go through events where things can go bad, and that's when you kind of have to like regroup. And like let's say you had a terrible long jump or a terrible shot put, and you still got like 8 events to go, you're going to have to like switch your brain back to normal mode. So that's when I'll go into more like breathing techniques or go to old focus cues.
What are they? Sorry, old focus cues.
Old focus cues, like for example, like in every event I'll just have one thing I want to focus on. But like for, let's say if I'm just like I had a real shitty long jump and I want to get my mojo back for the next event, I'll really just focus on that breathing and things like square breathing or visualization, and they can really bring me back into the zone, or into like a nice flow state, because that's at the end of the day, if you feel that flow state and you feel like in complete peace with yourself of not trying to overforce it, that's when things kind of click. So it's always trying to like chase that flow state. And now I have different warm-up exercises I also like to try and feel that flow state and just get the brain working. And I could go on for days with this stuff. There's stuff like called the goat drill. I read a lot from a coach called Cal Dietz. He's a coach in Minnesota. But there's just so many new ways of coaching nowadays that you
just have to find what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
interesting. But in terms of, I get the sense you were chatting, you're always trying to find the 1%. You know, do you ever switch off in terms of like, I'm probably a little bit similar to you. I'm always reading, or I'm like, I call it chronically online. I'm always looking at podcasts or videos, Instagram and Twitter, which can all be very toxic at times. I just have I'll just love, going down rabbit holes, when you're, like some people watch crap. I'm trying to, I'm watching clips of podcasts and stuff. I'm assuming you do that for your sport.
100%. I'm with you there. My Instagram feed is all coaching stuff, whether that's strength and conditioning, track and field, all my podcasts. Like this morning alone, I probably listened to like 2 or 3 podcasts. Wow, okay. Just like that. That's a typical Sunday where I want to like figure something out.
Definitely this podcast, just for any listeners.
Exactly. There we go. Yeah. So I'm definitely obsessed, which can also be a bit of it doesn't work all the time because you can't. You become obsessed and it becomes unhealthy. So then sometimes I try to just deactivate the Instagram and really shut all that stuff out. So yeah,
it's important to have some scrolling, mindless scrolling at the same time, where it's not all that you're not switched on all the time. Because I heard a great line, I think it was John Kiley, the Limerick curling manager, pretty sure, I could be wrong on that. He said, if you don't switch off, you can't switch on.
Yeah.
Like, you have to find outlets and do things, and it's so important. What do you do as an outlet? Like, apart from, apart from logging out of Instagram and stuff, what would you do?
I love hiking and I love travel, so that would be like off season stuff. And I love to camp, even sometimes in season, not in season, but like as in we don't have any competitions in autumn or the winter, so I love to go on like a camping break on the weekend and do a little bit of hiking when I get a chance. It's a really nice way to escape it all. And then just classic stuff of hanging out with friends, spending some time with my girlfriend, or who has nothing to do with track and field at all and has no interest in hearing about this stuff. So that's great for me, because I love not having, I think that it works really well because we don't have to talk about athletics, and I know that it's like almost a break for me, because all my friends here are all athletics. So it's even when you're around them, you feel like some sort of connection to that, and that you're not switching off completely. Even though you're with your teammates, there's still some sort of,
probably subconsciously.
Exactly. So definitely nature. And I've a bit of an interest in language learning. That's another one that I like a lot. And it just like switches it up a bit. I'm trying to learn a bit of Spanish at the moment, and I did German in my undergrad, so it's just something that I find it relaxing now, a bit of Duolingo or just a bit of a like language podcast. I really like that stuff.
Very good. Okay, how's your Cúpa Focal? Still good? Still strong?
No, that's where I'm struggling. In school I hated Irish. I was terrible. I don't know why I
just the way
it's
the way we're taught as well. It's kind of forced on us, and it's like I went to an Irish primary school actually.
Oh really?
So I went to an English secondary, so lost probably a good bit of in terms just day to day. Now I'd be listening and I could very much keep up with stuff, just trying to find the vocab just because I relied on it day to day. But I found when I went to the English secondary school that everyone hated it because it was just the way it was taught, and some of it is probably on the teacher, some of it isn't. It's the system. But I've now some friends that are Gaeilgeoirs through and through, love Gaeilge, are so passionate, then other friends are now picking it back up on Duolingo, so you can add that to your library. But I agree, it's the way it's taught. It's just I did Spanish in secondary school, so still have my dos cervezas por favor. That's the most important sentence when you're in Spain.
Exactly.
But that's nice to switch off though, but also kind of test your brain another way away from
100%.
Academic work.
Definitely.
You come across as someone that's very passionate and driven, but it's nice to have other passions outside of
absolutely
athletics.
You learn that from, I think, injury times as well, as you definitely need outside projects, because like you can have your whole personality be your sport, and then when an injury comes, that's when you really like struggle, and you'll go straight into like a depressive mode. So having some outside just outside interest is very important for all athletes, I think.
You're unique from a lot of my other episodes and guests in terms of sustaining performance across multi-sport. From a actual event point of view, you're changing sports, but also from you're going across 2 days. So how do you sustain that, in terms of the intensity and the focus? You could be, Usain Bolt's always talking about, I worked my whole life for 10 seconds or, whatever many years. But you're intently focused and performing across 2 days of competition. How do you do that?
It's definitely a hugely emotional thing doing a decathlon. Like even as when you do your first one when you're like 16 or 17, you'll always remember that moment of feeling it. It's almost like a euphoric feeling during the moment, but then there's times during the decathlon where you're just I don't want to be here any longer. So there's it's quite grueling, having to be switched on for 2 days. How do you do it? You really have to go event by event and never kind of look past the event you're working on. If you're ever going too much in the future, if you're calculating points in your head, or I need to score this, I need to score that always falls apart, and that takes you out of that kind of flow state feel as well. So for me, it's always one event at a time. Start off with that 100 meter, and then one by one. Now there's stressful events. All the decathletes and heptathletes would know once they get through the hurdles on the second day, where you don't like smash into all the hurdles. There's a huge like breath of relief. Same for us, for the guys in the pole vault. Once you clear a bar in the pole vault, that's like huge breath of relief, because you know from there you're going to finish your multi. But there's definitely it is pretty exhausting, and often after the 2 days I'll have like a euphoric high after in the evening, and then I'll have like 2 or 3 days of like feeling really low and almost like sad, because it's so much adrenaline to so no matter what, whether it be a good competition, alright competition, or bad competition, there's definitely like a come down afterwards. It's a lot of adrenaline for sure.
I can imagine, because like even, you know, people talk about after a race in a big competition, that's just one event, never mind doing 10 of them across 2 days. Like everyone talks about the post-Olympic kind of blues, or, you know, cycle or whatever they call it. You're getting that kind of regularly enough in terms of the competition because of the adrenaline. Is there any processes you go through, like in terms of even being aware of that, learning about that? You know, how do you deal with that? So like, because you're dealing with it fairly regularly.
There's definitely like a looking to, like, there's always like goals in mind, so you definitely reflect a lot on if you've hit those goals or if you've come up short, and what that means for like the rest of your season. Does that mean like you have another opportunity? And in the NCAA, like our season goes where we're always trying to make nationals, and you have to be in the top 16 indoor or top 24 outdoor. So I guess for us, once those next few days, you're definitely overthinking. If you've made it, you're kind of like, let's hope that keeps me in the top list. And you sometimes you're actually there's a thing called TIFers for us, and it's like a ranking list of all the athletes in the US, and up until like the closing date, you're checking where you are in the rankings, and that's also quite stressful. But I think to distract yourself from this stuff, you just got to get straight back into some sort of training and some sort of routine again. And in the week straight after, I like to switch up training a lot. Don't like to get into too much like anaerobic stuff that's just going to beat up my body, because your body is so beat up already. I'll do a lot of just easy running, easy stretching, easy rehab. All this kind of stuff is really important for the week or two after, because like your body is just not right for a week or two if you do any like tracking, like heart rate intervals, or if you do like pH tests in your blood, you're all over the place during those 2 weeks. So just switching up training is a good way to get that distraction. But that's the one thing in the NCAA is it's very hard to stop off, because you're always trying to qualify for something, and there's so many kids over here who want what you want. So you put in a performance, and then you're up on the system, and you're it's always on your mind, like, oh, how am I doing today? Has there been a few kids who've overtaken me, or that kind of a way? So you just try to schedule your year where you can be at your peaks when you can, and then put in those best performances. And sometimes you just gotta let it be, I guess, when afterwards, and just accept it for what it is. And luckily enough, I was able to qualify for outdoors the last 2 years for NCAAs, and luckily got into All-American spots for outdoors. But this year I want to make that a goal for indoors as well. It's a little bit more tricky indoors because it's only top 16. So that's definitely like my first goal of the season and what I'm working towards at the moment.
We're talking a lot about how hard it is, the stress, you know, what do you enjoy, like in terms of doing it? Is it the adrenaline? What keeps you in it and driving and motivated?
Definitely, yeah. The adrenaline, the challenging yourself, trying to beat yourself. Like you don't have like a competitor, I feel like, in track and field. Like I don't ever picture someone, I want to beat them. It's always like you versus you. So it's really just like testing yourself. And as a kid, it's like, this is like a dream I had as a kid, and something that my family have been so good to me and supportive of me throughout my life, that there's like we all have a huge love for track and field. And I just want to do young Diarmuid justice as well, and all the work he put in, and just stay on top of those things and follow those dreams that he had. Like most athletes want to go to the Olympics, so that's always in the back of your mind, and that's always a motivating factor. And it is really fun at the end of the day as well. We get to throw spears around and jump in the sand and jump on a big pole over other things. So it's a bit of randomness as well, which is really fun.
Even I saw Paige Beckers, who's on a wall here somewhere in Gampbell. I don't actually know. We're probably over that direction. He had a pop up there. Like, everything I do is what my 17-year-old dreamed about. I'm paraphrasing. I forget which it actually was. But as you say, like, you're doing, like, and it's very rare that we have in any walk of life, not just sport, where you do what you set out to do and what you dreamt of, and that's a privilege to be able to do that.
Oh, absolutely, taking a step back and realizing that is massive. It is a huge privilege, and being in the US is actually it's a massive privilege as well. Like the you get here financially is ridiculous, and it's a huge advantage for any Irish athlete, I think, who's trying to bridge the gap into professionalism.
In terms of the approach here versus at home, what's the difference in terms of the actual technical side, the actual training, not just the support from financial and education point of view? Just interested in the actual coaching here compared to home.
That's one thing. I think we have actually some really good minds at home, and people who really understand the sport, and there's definitely just, like, Irish people are so passionate about sports. You can see it with the game today, that people love sports, and it's almost like we have such a passion for sports. We'll cry watching an Irish person do well, and we'll feel like almost as if they're family. And you see that in our Irish coaches as well, given all the difficulties Irish coaches face in probably both our sports, both basketball and in track and field, where there isn't that much money in coaching. They all have a huge passion to learn, and they're always going to seminars. So a lot of Irish coaches could actually work in the NCAA, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of Irish coaches that have huge knowledge bases, but they just don't have those facilities, and they don't have the funding to go out and get all the gear and to make those other things easy, which they do have here. But honestly, if you put a lot of Irish coaches in jobs here, I think they would really excel because of how passionate Irish coaches are about sports. Because I feel like we always feel like underdogs.
Like today being a prime example of coming up beating Hungary,
absolutely,
beating Portugal.
We always have that underdog mentality, which means we want to go the extra mile. I think that's a thing in a lot of Irish athletes that we share, that we feel like, oh, we need to work harder than other people. We're the underdogs. We're just this small country. A
lot of Irish basketball players talk about, maybe it's changing now with the perception, hopefully with athletics as well. You know, it's so many amazing athletes putting us on the NCAA stage, the global stage, the Olympic stage. You know, some of the basketball players talk about, you know, coming to America, they're like, do you even have basketball? A bunch of leprechauns, you know, the normal stuff, you know.
I'm well sick of that with my group.
I can imagine. Is there a good community in terms of Irish athletes in the NCAA? Like, would you be texting each other, supporting each other? What's your experience of that?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. Like, if you ever even have a slight inkling that there's another Irish athlete at an event, you'll bump into them. Like, we've a few in the Big East. There's a few distance runners in Villanova, and there used to be a few girls and boys at Providence. Then we've just athletes, I feel like, in nearly every conference now, big conference. We've guys in Texas, at Kentucky, and there's a girl from back home, Lucy Sleeman, in Florida State. So, like, they're big conferences, SEC, and you have Irish athletes going to schools and representing those schools, and have the opportunity to probably go to nationals and really place high as well. So whenever I have an inkling that somebody's there, I'll always try and reach out and find another Irish person to bump into, because it's a nice feeling to feels a little bit like home when you bump into someone.
Yeah, exactly. Like tonight, like I got your number from Kieran Quinn, text you. I didn't even know if you were around. You were like, yeah, 100%, let's go. You know, I was like, this is great. You know, and it's just different. You know, keeps the accent as well. I'm impressed. 100%. You know, I was saying to someone recently on the podcast, they're from Cork. Whenever someone's from Cork, they never lose their accent.
Yeah, I don't have the strongest of Cork
no,
accents.
it's a little. I can hear it. Yeah,
it's a little bit. But I'm glad, because that's something I would 100% get teased by the lads if I went home with an American accent. I'd never hear the end of it. So.
How's Sean's accent?
He's picked up the Yank accent. He's definitely saying the slang and all this stuff. So yeah, he's a US guy now.
Do you have, like, in terms of your friends and the understanding of what you're doing, like, it's interesting having Sean there. If anyone doesn't know, played Division 2, so playing pro in Iceland. What, you know, in terms of, talk to Annalise Murphy, the sailor, about, you know, chasing your dreams when, you know, your friends don't really get it. You know, they're all, you know, everyone my age now and your age is probably in Australia, you know, and I feel like every sunset I see it 100 times from different angles. How do you find it, like, chasing your dream and going after something when people around you maybe don't get it?
I think they get it and they're supportive of it, but you also have to make that decision that you're like different people, that I know that I wouldn't, if I was back home, that it wouldn't be right for my career. And like, I miss my friends terribly back home. Like, I have a really close bunch of friends from secondary school, but I also just know that it's not good for my career, and you have to make some choices just for like a few years just to figure that stuff out. So I think they're very understanding of that, and a lot of them like are really good athletes as well, whether that be GAA or all sports. But it's definitely I don't know. I've found not everybody finds it hard to focus on sports in Ireland, but I found it a little bit hard to focus on sports because there's just a different culture in Ireland in terms of sports. So as great as my friends have been, there's like the overall, I would say, scene of Irish, like the drinking scene is a lot bigger in Ireland, or going out and socializing on those things is a lot bigger there than it is here. Whereas I find it so easy to like go the entire year without drinking here. Whereas I would find that there's more temptations. Whereas you've seen stores we're in the middle of the sticks. It's like being on a monastery here. Like, you can really focus. You can definitely focus here, which makes life a bit easier. Yeah.
That's again another reference to David Gillick's book, Go Buy It. He said the exact same, you know, about going to England. I forget the college now, it escapes me, that big college in the UK that Loughborough, yeah. Bang on, yeah. He was talking about, you know, if he was at home with the lads, it'd be, right, let's go out, and he'd be like, nah, and they're like, yeah, you're dry, you know, like, you know, the typical Irish thing, but it was just changing up in your environment. Important. And look, it might not work for someone, but it works for other people. It's finding what's best for you. Throughout this whole conversation, what stood out to me is obviously your passion, your dedication, your drive, but how aware you have to be of your body, but also your mind, and finding what's best for you. And I think that's what I love about this and talking to people. Everyone has their own approach or the way they do it. It's just about finding what's best for you. How did you find that, and how are you so aware? How often do you like kind of check in with yourself? You know, that sounds very formal. It doesn't need to be that formal. I'm probably overthinking it even talking about this, but just being self-aware about everything.
That's a really good question. Definitely takes time, and also something I think I'm a bit grateful that I came to the US a little bit later for. I think I learned that through injuries, because if you don't check in with yourself, in athletes that actually often comes out in injuries. And for me, it was a stress fracture in my navicular, and I just can't stop training sometimes, and I want to do the extra amount, because I as a kid I always thought if you do the most work you'll always be able to make it and achieve your goals. And older you get, that's just not realistic. So I think if I came to the US as straight out of secondary school, I would have been just that same mindset. And in a way, that did happen when I went to Texas Tech. I got injured, and that injury has like kind of, as I was so depressed with it at the time. It was like 2 seasons completely out, but it's really like set up the rest of my career now to understand and reflect on the body, reflect what does it feel like to feel overtrained, what does it feel like to try this method of training or that method of training, and what works for you. And some coaches some athletes are really just trusting of the training they're given, and that's fine. But I think getting injured was that it forced me to have that reflection thing, where if I'm doing something in training and I don't think it's of benefit to me, I'll actually like stand up for myself and say, no, this isn't for me. And coaches actually 90% of the time understand that, and they'll say, oh, if you can like say it in a reasonable way, why you don't think it's of benefit to you, they'll actually understand that. But if you're coming in as an 18-year-old into the US, where it's pretty overwhelming, I don't think you're going to be confident enough to tell your coach when you don't think something is right.
We're going to have a load of kids now saying, I'm not doing that. Darren O'Connor told me not to do that, so you get a load. What the hell are you talking about? No,
maybe if I think it applies for people who are just like addicted to sport, which a lot of people are. A lot of people like just can't stop training, and even on off days they'll want to do extra stuff.
If there's a kid listening now that's thinking, okay, I'm enjoying this, and learning about the experience, think it might be for me. They're maybe looking at contacting coaches, going on visits in particular. I talked a lot about, from the basketball sense, of contacting coaches, you need to reach out. Just what factors do you need to go into and think of coming into visits, and maybe what would you do a little bit differently with your journey?
Just for context in my journey, I kind of had 2 different recruiting times, where the first time I did all the visits and all the fireworks and all the big display, and that was my first time I came over was in 2022, so I was probably in second year of college, and I visited Virginia Tech and Texas Tech. And when you come on those visits, they're very overwhelming in the fact that like they'll treat you incredibly well. They'll treat you as if you're like God's gift or some like professional athlete coming in, and that as an Irish athlete who like
you're like, what is this?
You have no idea what's going on. You think you're about to like go into something incredible, and like there's unfortunately a tactic NCAA schools use, that you'll go out for like fine dining meals on these visits, and they'll treat you like you'll be stay in a fancy place, and you'll get all this incredible fluffed up experience. So definitely be aware of that coming over to the US. And I found out kind of the hard way on my first time at Texas Tech, where I wasn't very well looked after with my injury then, and I kind of fell for that trap. But then again, you learn from your mistakes, and on my second time of recruiting, I was between 2 schools again, and the staff here at UCONN were I had a feeling that I didn't want to do that visiting process again the next time, because of all the fluff involved in it and how it can kind of skew your perception. So the second time around, I was thinking about, who are these people now? If I was to get a terrible injury that's going to put me out for a season, who's going to like look after me for that entire year? So you're thinking of the worst case scenario, and that's what brought me to UCONN. The head coach here was just like, she's almost like a mothering figure, She's always checking in on me from an emotional level, and there's definitely a much more personal tie. So that's something I would definitely advise young athletes to look for someone who treats you like a person and doesn't care too much about, like, you could be a credible athlete and that's what's going to get you an offer, but if they're like obsessed about your performance, and they treat you completely based on your performance, when that means if something goes wrong, you might be in trouble. Whereas if you have a coach who's like a parent and is a really emotional supportive person who cares more about your performance and more about your development as an athlete. I think that's definitely something you should focus on when you're talking to whoever's recruiting you.
Goals going forward. We're chatting here at, Sunday evening, 8:00 here, in November 2025. I call you, in 5 or 10 years, hopefully you pick up the phone. What would you like to have achieved by then?
Short term, this year I just want to get as high as possible in the NCAA. It's my last chance here. I want to podium. I want to just really be the best I can be. Those goals will then set me up to kind of go home and train towards LA. Like, LA has been my dream since starting decathlon. I've always wanted to go to the Olympics, and I feel like if I can go to an Olympics, then I've as going back to the young Diarmuid, or the young athlete inside yourself, you've shown that you can achieve that kid's dreams, and you're rewarding that inner child inside of you. And then long term, I just want to just enjoy doing athletics for as long as possible. Try and compete and push myself as long as possible. Try and be as smart in my training as long as possible. And I'm hugely passionate about coaching as well, so hopefully I can pass on my knowledge then to younger people after, and build that knowledge so that in Ireland hopefully we have all the best multi-eventers in the future.
Absolutely. Well, you look at how this generation of athletes across so many sports are just inspiring the next generation. I'm jealous, of all the support they're getting, and the Dare to Believe program, and the Olympians going in the schools. I wish I had that as a kid. Olympians coming to my school. It's so cool. I'm going to wrap up with the sideline 7. I haven't given you a heads up on these, so I feel bad. I usually this is, as I said, this is very impromptu. I texted Jeremy, said meet you in 20 minutes. Like 100%. Sideline 7, same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Okay. Question 1, what's your favourite quote?
Oh God.
Are you a quotes man?
I'm not a big quotes man. Oh God.
I thought that with all the podcasts and stuff you'd have a couple,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Favourite quote. Something simple like finding your why. I feel like that's a great starting point for every athlete, and I've never had an issue with doubting or motivation in terms of the sport, because I've always had a why. So that's always made training really, really easy, and I look forward to that and enjoy that every day. So if that's anything from the start, finding a why is definitely a recommendation for all young athletes.
Question 2, best sporting event you've been to. Pick one as a fan and one as a competitor.
Ooh, that's a good question to reflect now. Well, I'm from Cork, so every time we go to an All-Ireland, we lose. So I don't know if I can call that one of our best.
Still, Cork is on fire, and the last couple of summers they've been, I know they haven't won, but just the support there has been cool. Oh
yeah, the Cork fan base is next to none for hurling, and I love watching GA and soccer. I love to watch. Definitely just. I'm as a kid as well. I went to a lot of the Cork games, so I'm a proud Cork supporter. I don't know if that's my final answer for a game I went to see, because I think Irish sports are way better than American sports.
I was actually telling my Uber driver today, he's like, was asking about Ireland, and I was like, hurling. Yeah. Go watch it right now. Yeah. And he's like, what? And I was like, you haven't seen anything, so you've seen hurling. Yeah. There's all this craziness at these US things where they're doing the t-shirt cannons and all this madness, but there's nothing actually beats just the atmosphere of Irish people at sports. Irish fans are the greatest. They're just so passionate. Today, prime example. Oh, exactly. Yeah. So I definitely European sports and Irish sporting events I prefer over American sports. And then from competing level, a huge breakthrough competition for me is back in under 20 in Tallinn, where I came fourth at the competition, and that would just switch something in my mind that it went from I love this and I really like it. I could potentially go somewhere with this. So that was a really important competition for me at European under 20s. But competing in the NCAA, I've got to go to Hayward Field in
Oregon twice now, and that's really, really cool. It's like the best track and field stadium in the world, so that's really cool.
Question 3, biggest setback or challenge so far in your career, and how did you react to it?
Definitely, as I mentioned, that navicular stress fracture meant I lost a scholarship. I came back to Ireland, couldn't walk for 6 months, but it forces you to learn. You actually, you find contacts then through that. I've got a great physio back home, Sinead Murphy. I learned a lot about, as you said, teaching your body what's for you and mentally what's right for you. So to learn about those stuff at like 21 years of age was great, you know, because it means like for the rest of my career now, I feel like I've already been through that battle. And
the flip side, your biggest achievement to date, in or outside of sport?
My biggest achievement is been being here in the US and bouncing back. I think it's not exactly the results, but I think the not giving up during that time period where when I came back to the NCAA, luckily UConn took a risk on me where I hadn't competed in 2 years, and then that first year I was able to become an All-American. So I'm pretty proud of myself for believing in myself to make that comeback after almost like 2 years of trying to catch up.
Question 5, advice to your 18-year-old self.
Train smart, don't train hard. That's definitely something I should have given my 18-year-old self, is you got to learn about training before you just go out there and just rip yourself. Like you can just go out and sprint every day on the track and beat the hell out of your nervous system. And I wish I knew that training hard doesn't mean you're going to be the best athlete ever.
Brilliant. Question 6, dream dinner guest and why?
Ooh.
Have a dinner party if you want, go on.
This is a hard one now. Actually, luckily enough, Katie Taylor is based here in Connecticut, so I've been able to go over to her house and watch. I know. I've been over to Katie Taylor's, and she has a boxing ring out the back, and I was able to sit in on a session, so that was really, really cool. So Katie's like the most humble, like incredible athlete, and just a huge role model for me my whole life. And alongside Kate as well, like the Irish girls, what they're doing in sport is incredible. And the lads soccer team, I love picking Irish athletes. I would pick a lot of Irish athletes, I think, for that, because I'm incredibly proud to be Irish, and I like that's a huge motivating factor for me as well, as to like go to an international, put on the Irish Fest. There's nothing like that feeling. Like I don't know if any other country feels like I'm sure they do, but to me it's like, oh fuck it, it's the Irish jersey, it's the green. So I'm just so proud to be Irish. So yeah.
Brilliant. Last question. This is probably the toughest. I feel bad not giving people a heads up on this one, but if your life was a book, what chapter would this be called? Take your time on this one as well.
I'm going to definitely be optimistic on this one. It's like, this is going to be like the breakthrough. This is the breakthrough. Like I've gone through the hard times now with injuries, and the last 2 seasons, they were decent seasons in the NCAA, but they weren't breakthrough seasons, whereas this is me like sharpening my tools this year. If I'm getting a bit cringy. No. I think this is the breakthrough chapter, definitely.
Well, Diarmuid, this has been such a pleasure. Definitely the coolest place I've done an interview. and as I said, the second most impromptu. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to keeping up with your journey and seeing where you go, and hopefully getting back in the Irish Fest soon.
Absolutely. Hopefully. Thank you so much, Orla. Yeah, we'll talk soon.